A decision by a Manitoba court today allows an animal welfare group to privately prosecute a live horse exporter in this province. In contention was how horses on a plane bound for Japan back in December 2022 were treated. Because of travel delays, animal welfare advocates say the horses went without food, water, or rest for longer than the legal 28-hour limit. The animal rights group says the CFIA didn't do its job in taking enforcement action against Carlisle Farms. Now those same advocates have convinced a judge to allow them to prosecute the farm under the Federal Health of Animals regulations. The farm is charged in failing to have a contingency plan in place to respond to unforeseen delays that could result in the suffering of an animal. The court, though, only allowed one of three proposed charges. Kaitlyn Mitchell is with the nonprofit group Animal Justice. She was in court earlier today and joins us in studio. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Kaitlyn, this is the first time Animal Justice has ever pursued a private prosecution where a judge essentially allows this, approves a process to prosecute. Why decide to do this now when Crown attorneys both federally and provincially chose not to?
Well, it's not a step that we took lightly, that's for sure. When this shipment happened in December 2022, we did our very best to bring the matter to the attention of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. We urged them to take enforcement action, and we were incredibly disappointed when we didn't. We learned that the shipment went well over the 28-hour limit. We learned that at least 3 horses actually collapsed during the flight. And so, once we realized that the CFIA was not going to take action, then we made the decision to commence this private prosecution.
Are you suggesting the CFIA didn't do its job?
Well, they certainly did not enforce the law here, and that was incredibly disappointing. We have so few laws on the books to protect these horses. The least that we can do is to make sure that what few laws we do have are actually enforced. Otherwise, what good are they?
Now, the judge didn't give you a blanket prosecution. In fact, you were allowed to lay one of the 3 charges you were asking for. Can you take us through what 3 laws you were accusing Carlisle Farms of violating?
Absolutely. So, and this is something that we've been working at for a while. So the first step in one of these private prosecutions is to lay in information. And so Animal Justice's executive director did that back in June. And what we said is that it appeared that 3 different laws were violated. The Provincial Animal Care Act, which prevents individuals from causing distress to animals. The reason that we were not allowed to proceed with that is because there were concerns about jurisdiction. Where did these horses collapse? Was it somewhere over the ocean? We just don't know. So that's frustrating, but, we've accepted that. The Crown decided ultimately to allow us to proceed with the charge related to the contingency plan. But when it comes to violating the legal limit of 28 hours, what they said is actually the CFIA essentially was involved in that decision. So because they felt that the CFIA had been involved in the decision to go over the 28-hour legal limit, that they did not want us to be proceeding with those charges. So what we are proceeding with, though, is a charge related to a lack of a contingency plan, which is incredibly important. If you're shipping animals for more than 28 hours around the world, there needs to be a plan in place to make sure that if unforeseen circumstances happen, they are not made to suffer.
Now, CBC News did speak to a representative of the Swan River horse exporter Carlisle Farms. Lyle Lumax denies the charge of failing to have a contingency plan. Here's what he had to say.
We have it. If something goes wrong, we bring the horses home. There's no problem at all. Because we decided, everybody there decided, we weren't talking a day, we weren't talking 3 hours. To bring them home, to put them back on the plane, like I'm saying, it was going to take way more than 3 hours to put them back in the trucks. And then 5.5 hours home, put them out in the pastures, then bring them back in, put them back in the truck. Then we're over the time for the CFIA. So likely we have to get them put through the chute to re-needle them and retest them again. Everybody there took a look at the situation, the people at the plane, the people, the airline, the people who have bought the horses, everybody was on the phone. And when we found another crew and we flew the plane to Seattle and then to Japan, everybody there said, this is far, far less problem for the horses.
Do you agree with his characterization that he did everything he can and that he did have a contingency plan?
Well, certainly he'll have an opportunity to respond to the charges. But what I would say is that all of the documentation we've reviewed, it looks like there were decisions being made here. They were being made on the fly about what to do when this airport closed, whether to send the horses. They actually did send 18 horses back to the farm at that time to lighten the load.
And when you say decisions are being made, are you talking about specifically the farm, the CFIA, or both?
It seems to be that it was a joint decision that was being made. But the law is very clear that, well, first of all, the law is very clear that the 28-hour limit, it's there for a reason. Individuals, may feel that it's okay to go in excess of that, but the law is the law. And 28 hours for horses and is an extremely long period of time. They have a high sense of gravity. They have incredibly sensitive hearing. They're fight or flight animals. And so these are animals who are already enduring a terribly challenging journey. So the 28-hour limit, in our perspective, is the very least that we can do. And that needs to be respected. And the law is the law. Parliament has decided that that is the law. And so that's what's on the books. And so, we certainly understand that there was a joint decision that was being made, but it was being made for a number of reasons. There was also really significant financial considerations involved. Those appear to have also played a role here, in addition to people looking out for the horses.
You're talking about the law here, and you know this. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau promised a ban in live horse export more than 2 years ago. Just months ago, a senator and Liberal MP introduced bills to end the practice. It is actually, the bill is being reviewed this week. How seriously do you think the feds are looking at this?
Well, it seems like we're seeing some progress. So, I think we are very, very happy to see that bill moving forward. And I'll actually be appearing before the Standing Committee this Thursday in Ottawa on that very bill. And the reason that we pursued this private prosecution is because our perspective is, while this continues, and it does continue, more than 4,000 horses have been shipped from Canada since that promise was made. While this practice continues, we have laws on the books, and those laws need to be enforced. But certainly, we are seeing some progress on the federal bills as well, and I think that that's really good news for horses.
What penalties will come out of this private prosecution if you're successful?
Yeah, if we're successful, there are some kind of two different streams that one can proceed with under the Health of Animals Act. But in short, the fines that you could be looking at would be up to about $50,000. There's also imprisonment in there. Of course, we're not pursuing imprisonment of anybody in this case. But we do think that, when you are making a living off of exporting live animals from this country overseas for slaughter, that it's important to follow the laws, and that there can and should be serious fines when that doesn't happen.
What's next in this private prosecution? So you've received approval to lay that one charge. What's next?
Well, today, as you noted, the court decided to allow us to proceed, which means that a summons will be issued to Carlisle Farms. And at that point, they will be required to attend court to answer to the charges. And, it's hard to say how long the process will take at this point. But, we're very serious about it. We've retained a lawyer to represent us and act in this prosecution. And so we'll be moving as quickly as we can.
Kaitlyn, thanks for making space today and for coming in. Take good care.
Thank you.
Kaitlyn Mitchell is with the nonprofit group Animal Justice. The group successfully convinced a judge today to allow it to prosecute a Manitoba live horse exporter under the Federal Health of Animals regulations. We have asked for comment with the CFIA, and we are waiting to hear back.